Media Group.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Oh, also David Krumholtz played my younger brother, David. I don't know if you know David.
Because Jason was a professional child actor and David had never done a show in his life.
But David, right from the play, boom, movie career. He went into Life with Mikey. Michael Fox hired him for Life with Mikey. And then he went that into Addams Family, which I also auditioned for. And and I was like, fuck this kid. I was about to be fucking fired. He was such a little prick.
Hey dude, I think the 90s are calling.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're back to Hey Dude, the 90s called. I'm Christine Taylor, and with me, my partner in nostalgia, David Lasher.
What's up, Christine, and welcome back, everybody.
We're here.
It's been a minute, right?
It's been a minute, right? So that minute, but I feel like we've just still had our friends and fans and everyone saying, when are you coming back? And we kept saying, we're coming back. Just be patient. Don't leave us.
We had a few little upgrades to take care of. And my gosh, I miss doing this. I miss seeing you every week.
I know. And we've got such a great team. And as you can see, we're in different environment. We're both in different places now too. You're in a different house. I'm in a different apartment. So some little life changes for us too.
Yeah, we're on couches. We're relaxed.
We're cash.
You're
now,
in a yoga pose.
I am in a yoga pose. I feel like that's not going to last very long for me. But
how have you been?
Been so
Everything good.
Yes. Everybody's really good. Everybody's busy. School year is wrapping up for my son's freshman year of college. And, Ella's working and about to do a off-Broadway play, which is really exciting. And I'm going to go off and do a little movie, and Ben's working. It's good. We're in good, happy work mode, which is nice.
That's amazing, though, that Ella, last time we recorded, she was probably still in school, right?
Yes.
Studying,
I think she was
and now
maybe
she's
just
a working
graduating.
actress.
I know. It's crazy.
Amazing.
Crazy. And everybody good on your end?
Yeah. Hannah's graduating from Tulane next week. I'm so excited for her. She got a job in New York in finance. Casey's came home last night. I've been producing this comedy tour, rock comedy, sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. So it was like a 25-city tour with some of the best comedians. And that's been a cool thing to get behind in that world of life on the road. It's its own
subculture, right?
It's so cool. I felt like the kid in Almost Famous, where I was just like, this is so cool. They're like, dude, we do this all year. It's not that, it is what it is.
We're on a tour. This is not that fun for us, but for you, you were like, I love this.
Yeah, I was filming everything. They're like, put the camera away.
Oh, gosh.
So who do you got? You got us some great first guests.
This is our welcome back episode. And I asked my friend Jenny Mollen, who's married to Jason Biggs, and they are going to come on together, which I'm so excited about. We had, Patton Oswalt and Meredith Salinger come on last year, and they were so great together. I love couple dynamics. I'm fascinated by, two
Jason
performers.
And Jenny
Oh my God.
They're so open and honest.
Yeah. And between them, by the way, they're actors, producers, hosts, a New York Times bestselling author. And let's bring Jenny and Jason in and start a good chat. We should just start by saying I texted Jenny to say, would you guys come on? We'd love to have you guys come on. Immediately, it was just like, yes. Never checked with Jason, never did any, just yes. And then, and then the second text was her saying, but why would you want me on? It just should be Jason. It just should be Jason for all the good 90s nuggets. And I was like, no, we want to have you both on because you're both so great. But also, you still haven't checked with Jason. You're texting me in real time.
I know. Well, do you ever do that with your husband, though? You're like, he's in. And then
100%.
Like, I'll decide what you're doing.
And I'll figure out when it works for his schedule. But I'm always like, absolutely, Ben will do that. 100%.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, we just don't fight it anymore.
Yeah, you have to just lean in at some point.
Yeah, we've learned.
I'm unavailable, by the way, guys. This was just, I'm not here. I'm just coming to say hello and I have to take off. So
see that I suspected.
Check with me, and I have like 7 other things I have to do right now. So,
including celebrating the Knicks win. I mean, we got to talk about that for 2 seconds.
Can we talk about this?
We are all Knicks fans here. David lives in LA, but he's a New Yorker. So we are all like,
New York must be on fire right now.
Oh my!
I remember those years.
I was out and about last night as well. I was like walking around, and the city was just insane. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. And but I have to tell you, and Christine, I don't know how you felt. I don't know if I should be admitting this, but when we were down the other night, I was like, "That's it. This is it. The Celtics. I knew it. The Celtics. I was like, this is the series. I can't believe this is going to happen.
Halftime, I said to Quinn, I just hope it's not embarrassing. I hope they can carve their way back so that it feels like it's a game, because the regular season, it had been rough. It was, I really, but then when they went down last night, I was sort of like, I believe. I believe
different.
Now.
It was different. It was different. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I didn't believe the way I should have believed, perhaps the other night.
Nobody did. And they were such underdogs. By the way,
yes, Ben did. He was getting mad at us for saying, Ben believes.
I want to be that fan. And I the other night I was just like, but this is me in general. I'm like such a I guess we're done. I guess that's it. We're everyone's
the fatalist.
Yeah.
Same.
But then you're pleasantly surprised. You're not disappointed.
There you go. Right.
You set the bar low.
Yes. Keep the expectations very low.
Exactly.
I know. Well, this is very exciting. Very, very exciting for us, for the New Yorkers here. It's Jason Biggs and Jenny Mollen. Hi.
Hi, guys. Hey, Christine.
What's up?
Hey, David. How are you?
Guys.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
I cannot believe we have you together. This makes me so happy. I was just talking about how I'm so grateful. I feel like Jenny, since we met last summer, Jenny and I met doing a little movie last summer that Jason also appears in. Do you guys know anything about what's happening with that? Anything?
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
No. But that happens
whatever happens. So. I was going to say, exactly. That happens with a lot of things I'm in as well, where it's sort of like, whatever happened to that? But it doesn't matter because
Did that ever happen even? Did it happen?
Did it happen?
We just imagine it.
You guys met, by the way.
We met last summer somewhere.
Well, no, but I'm saying no matter what happens with that movie, it's a net positive because you two met.
No, completely. Yeah.
Someone's going to call you guys 2 years from now and tell you, I'm watching your movie on Prime. You're going to say, what? Oh, it came out.
And we'll take it. Yep. We'll take it.
We'll be psyched.
You guys, I was scrolling through your Instagram accounts and you're like my favorite couple. You're so endearing and so honest. And how was the colonoscopy, Jenny? I feel like we're old friends now.
The colonoscopy, I was so worked up about doing it. I was so afraid that I was going to eat. I don't know how to, again, salad. I can't starve and I can't be hungry. I get starvation anxiety. I take a whole Branzino when we fly to Europe.
Is that a thing?
He's mad because he finds it in the luggage in Germany a day later. But I was so nervous for the colonoscopy that I literally had to check myself into a hotel and sort of just tell the front desk that whatever happens, however hard I plead with you, do not send room service to my room. Do not give in to me. And so I was up there all night. I did the prep. I was focused. My kids weren't screaming at me. It wasn't as bad as I expected. It was just one round of diarrhea that's basically water coming out of your body.
Hot.
Right.
And then you're done. And then the next day you go in, they give you some Michael Jackson drugs, some propofol, and they did an endoscopy and a colonoscopy, and I was out by 8:30 a.m. I was finished.
I think I saw the place that you were at. I think I did mine at the same place last year, 2 years ago, but up on the way upper east, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, same thing, a 6 a.m. start where the sun is coming up.
Start.
Totally.
People, what kind of I don't even understand somebody who schedules a colonoscopy for 2 p.m.
No. No,
you
that's
doing?
somebody who doesn't have a good in with their doctor, because no doctor should
yourself.
schedule that. That's someone who's literally on the bottom of their doctor's list, where they're like, I'm going to give them the 2 p.m. slot.
It's true. It's so true.
You might even say they're on her shit list.
Hey! Whoa!
A lot of puns the last few days after this.
That's it. Anyway, guys, have a great day. I'm done.
It was so good having you,
Biggs
Jason.
with his signature zingers.
Can I ask you something, Christine? I feel like I remember this was not learned through rumor mill. This was like public news about Ben getting one early, and it like being such good news, like good thing that he went early because something was. Am I allowed to discuss this?
No. You totally are. It was not a colonoscopy, but it was his prostate. It was he got his prostate checked. Yes, this is all news. This is all public information. And it was because his doctor recommended getting the test when there were really no signs, no symptoms. Everything had been sort of normal, but he was like, you're just at that age. Let's do this test, which is not something that everyone has to do. And that was what, when he got sort of an early detection, and it was and so he really started, advocating for all men, at whatever age to really, take it seriously.
Oh, wow. It worked, because like I've never forgotten that. And I remember reading about that thinking, oh, okay. Because it's something like it was like earlier even than the recommended age that his doctor, right? That was the thing. And I was like, oh, that age is kind of arbitrary. There's no reason not to do it earlier. Like if you're 47, like I am, like do it. Even if they say it's 50, like why not?
Exactly.
And because I'll never forget reading about that and thinking, oh man, like think he went early, and like it was, thank God he did.
Yeah. Exactly. And even like Jenny, posting about it probably reminded a lot of people like, oh shit, I got to go do this. I don't know. It's just,
I think it's so good. I think you have to share that stuff. It's so important. And people, I also think that like, it's just so scary. You are afraid to, you're afraid to do it, and you're afraid to not do it. And so you just like sit in this like paralysis. And so I think when you start to see all the people in your community doing it, it motivates you to kind of like take action.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Self-care.
I forgot it was prostate, but I applied it to colonoscopy as well. But it applies to both, I feel like,
and
right?
Colonoscopy, like, not to make this whole thing about a medical thing when none of us are actual doctors, but the colonoscopy, they move.
I'm a doctor's daughter, so
she's a doctor's daughter.
Your doctor, that counts. That really does count.
And Jason must have played one on TV.
I played a veterinarian on the series finale of Frasier. So
that works.
Please, diagnosis.
I wore gloves.
That's like an Ivy League vet.
Yeah, I wore gloves, and I had like a medical costume.
You're qualified.
Costume. No, but they did change the colonoscopy age very recently. It used to be,
I think it was 50, now it's 45.
Exactly. So anyway, we're making progress.
Yes, we're saving the world. One butt at a time.
This is an old person's interview. Let's go back to the 90s before we are colonoscopy age.
Oh my God. Well, exactly. Remember the 90s, you are colonoscopy age.
That is true.
Oh, that's true.
Very true.
Wait, Jason, were you were a New York actor when you were younger?
I was, yeah. So
Jersey boy, right?
Jersey boy.
Yep.
Really close to here, Bergen County. So I would get driven in by my parents, usually after school for auditions. And
how old?
Started when I was 5. So this was 83. 83 I started, and they would drive me in, and not when I was 5, but soon after, because parking was expensive and difficult and annoying. So literally, I remember being like 7 or 8 years old, and my mom sort of pulling up to where the audition was in Chelsea or wherever it was, and just like letting me out of the car, and I'd go into the lobby and I'd figure out what floor, and I'd go up the elevator. But then I'd come down after the audition. This is obviously well before cell phones, and she would maybe be there or maybe not. I'd have to kind of like look for her if she found a spot. And if I didn't see her on the block, I'd have to assume that she was circling. And so I'd be waiting out there, like, whatever, 7 years.
Waiting to get kidnapped.
Waiting. It's 1983, New York City, 7 years
Yeah,
old.
Little boy.
It was sketchy.
Super cute. Really good
It's a
looking.
sad card.
Yeah.
New York was sketchy in the 80s.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, so I was going auditioning when I was a little kid and working pretty consistently enough to where I sort of kept at it. And, that was my whole life growing up.
So was it that your parents or people would approach and say, "Oh, he's so cute. He should be in pictures. He should be in pictures."
Look at our little Jason. Have you ever
so
seen it?
He could be in the talkies. This was a very long
We're
time ago.
seeing a more beautiful
Yeah,
child.
you guys are doing a 90s podcast, but I could do a 40s podcast.
Talkies.
It was interesting. I mean, yes, of course, everyone went up to my parents and said I was gorgeous, but the way I got into it was my older sister, who's 7 years my senior. She was in this dance troupe in New Jersey. Again, really, really close. And she was like really good and they were talented. They would travel around. And so a lot of the other girls, their moms started taking them into the city to get agents and managers and do like try to do the theater, Broadway commercials and whatever. And so my sister wanted to do that. My parents thought, hey, if she starts working, could be a good way to save money for college. There were 3 of us. So that was the idea. I came along. I do believe her manager said something to the effect of, Jason's really cute and precocious. Maybe he wants that. I have an audition for him. I'm not quite sure of the specifics, but I was 5 and I went on auditions and I immediately loved it. And and it was never forced on me. And in fact, at one point, I have a younger sister as well. All 3 of us were doing it. Jenny likes to say that my younger sister is the funniest of all of us. And
she's the funniest.
It's very funny. She did a Huggies commercial. Her big claim to fame is she did a Huggies commercial when she was a year and a half old. And Jenny always jokes that any boyfriend she has is with her for her Huggies money. He's after the Huggies portion. Cause I think may still have a little bit of that. It was a national spot, guys.
Those were big.
National.
National.
Booking a national was big.
That was big. That was big. And I'll tell you what, the opposite of booking a national was like the excitement of booking a national could only like the heartbreak of booking a national and then do you remember this? Being downgraded. Do you remember, did this ever happen? So I remember doing a Crest.
No.
I remember doing a Crest commercial, toothpaste, and I booked it, national spot. Remember auditioning at Gray Advertising, 777 Avenue.
Oh, I remember it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And I booked this Crest commercial and it was a big deal. And I was so excited and was, just pumped. And we go to shoot and we shoot it. And it's like me and like a couple other kids. And I could kind of feel myself getting shoved a little literally to the periphery of the shot. And I think I might have had a line that I did in one take, but then the next take they were like, you don't need to say that anymore. Like,
oh no.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever. You just need my beautiful face, obviously. Everyone says it's gorgeous, so that makes sense. And I remember shooting it and then getting a call from the agent or manager, or my mom got the call, obviously, and saying that I was downgraded, which basically meant they no longer had to, based on how, it's all specific with SAG, like how much face time.
How little you're in it. Yeah, right.
And I was not in it enough and they didn't have to pay me the national commercial rates and I was downgraded. And
so residuals were different and all of it was different.
Everything. And I remember being so bummed.
Wow. You still remember though, that feeling of.
Yeah. I still talk about it in therapy and podcasts.
I remember booking, it was a national commercial for the Pee Wee Herman doll. And it was, fun. And I had done some big commercials and because that was how I got started too. And I got this, and it was the Pee Wee Herman doll. And I remember like when I went into audition for it, I just had to be the annoyed older sister who was like, get out of here and like, leave the couch. Cause it was like a younger brother who was tormenting his family with the Pee Wee Herman doll, and he would pull the string and the doll would give one of Pee-wee's lines. And honestly, like as we were shooting it, it was becoming very clear that this was like a horrible commercial. And it was just this kid tormenting his family, and like and everyone hated each other. It was just never aired. That was it. It never, they shelved it. Never happened. It was never
come out. Did the doll even
the
come out?
doll did exist, but they just went, no, I think probably Paul Rubens ended up doing something for it as Pee-wee.
Like, wait, this sucks.
Yeah, this is actually,
It was like everyone was kind of looking around like, this is kind of like awful and mean-spirited. I was 16 years old. I was sort of like, this is not giving the doll a great name. No one's going to want this doll.
I love that it took that long in the process.
They didn't see
I love that the advertisers approved it. Paul approved it. Everyone was like, this is brilliant. It's so funny. Like writers, copywriters, everyone was great. And
That's so funny. Oh my God.
They had to see it. They had to see it play out.
Wait, Christine, I have to imagine that in your life after that, you met Paul at some point and told him that story. Please tell me.
I never told him that story. I did meet him, and I think maybe I don't remember telling him because I also felt like it was sort of like a diss on the doll too, because it was sort of
I guess so.
You can't insult Pee Wee Herman's doll.
Would have brought it up, and it would have been almost more awkward than the commercial itself.
I would have brought it up. See, exactly like I just did now. I'd be like, "That's a great story to tell Paul." I would have ran into
no
Paul,
filter,
like,
no filter.
Paul, I have such a great story for you, and he would have been mortified. And then I realize it as I'm saying it, and then I spin as I'm walking away, and then I spin for weeks. I'm like, I can't believe I just
did. Why did I?
Did I insult him? He's definitely still thinking about this.
Yeah, for sure. For
sure. Jason, I really wanted to ask about the play with Judd Hirsch. Are we jumping too far ahead? I mean, the conversations with my father, was that like a 92nd Street Y production?
It was not. It was we did it on Broadway. We did it. We actually did it. This was the start of the 90s for me. Actually, it was 1990, and I booked there was Herb Gardner, who had written "I'm Not Rappaport" and "A Thousand Clowns," both of which were hits on Broadway and really beautiful plays. This was his third play, and I remember auditioning for Pat McCorkle casting at HB Studios in the West Village, which is now a few blocks from where I live.
Oh yeah.
And going in and reading, it was just going to be a play reading. So I went in and auditioned, and they asked me to do the reading of it. And it wasn't actually Judd at the reading. It was Charles Grodin. Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider.
What?
Roy Scheider.
Gosh.
Wow.
Roy Scheider played Judd's role for the reading, but I think it was always meant to be Judd. Judd was doing Dear John at the time, filming in LA.
Oh, yeah.
So we did this reading at HB Studios for Dan Sullivan, the director, and Herb, and Roy Scheider. I played one of he had two sons in the play. And then, so that was it. It was just like a play reading. This was in 1990.
How old were you?
I was 11 or 12, playing a 10-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
11 or 12. And then a few months later, they offered it to me. They said, we might be turning this into something. Like the reading was for like investors and to see if it, kind of whatever. And then months later, I get a call with an offer to do it at the Seattle Repertory Theater in Seattle, obviously, with Judd and Tony Shalhoub, who of course is,
oh my gosh.
Amazing.
And so I went to Seattle for 3 months. Now this was 91. So so now it was 91. I went to Seattle and did it there. And then months later, it came back to Broadway, and I did it on Broadway for like a year. And that was 91 into 92. And so I was 14 years old when I finished my run of that play, playing still a 10-year-old. But yeah, it was incredible because Judd is brilliant. He won
it's a masterclass for
teenage. He won the Tony for that role.
Oh,
I think it was his second or third Tony, but he won that year. And he was brilliant. Oh, also David Krumholtz played my younger brother, David. I don't know if you know David.
Yeah.
Who was also in the movie
with us.
Yes.
We really did do a movie.
We did do a movie.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
It exists.
Yes. Miracle, by the way.
David's first
Miracle
job.
on 74th Street. We're just going to plug that. But yes, David was so funny.
David is
David's
brilliant.
stories about it, because obviously I've heard from Jason about this play his whole life and the family, you know, because like they would drive him in, and just the backstory with like the dynamics of his family, which I won't get into. But hearing David's rendition of Conversations was hysterical. He's like, I was the most annoying kid you've ever and was lost my job. Jason probably wanted to kill me because Jason was a professional child actor, and David had like never done a show in his life, and he would just walk around and be like, I'm winning a Tony. And like get off to acting. And like, he's like, I literally was delusional. Like I had, and he would play pranks on people.
Yeah.
Was he just like ruining your life?
We were definitely like, it's funny.
You were night and day.
We were night and day. And so I love David. Like, first of all, he's brilliant.
He is brilliant.
Yeah. Like, he can do something like that very few people I think can do. Like he is a gifted performer. But he was such a little punk asshole kid. Like he just,
and you were a serious thespian.
I was, and I had done. He came in just for the Broadway run, so I had
you guys were
done
playing brothers,
but in different time periods. So we never shared the stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we shared a dressing room, but never a stage.
Even worse.
We were the only kids in the production. So it was like him and I, and then our understudy, like we were the kids. And I'm 3 days older than David. So we were the same age, same everything. But like, and so I'm in 8th grade, but I've been doing this already. Like I had been doing it for years. And David was literally plucked from a production of Bye Bye Birdie at Forest Hills Middle School in Queens. And like,
he's like, I'm on Broadway.
So he was on fire.
Yeah, and he was so just like unrefined and like that's not the right word, but just then maybe it is the right word. He was just like,
that's how he describes it too. And it is hilarious.
Right, he owns it about himself too.
He totally owns it.
It's so funny.
And he's a good friend now, but like there were definitely moments where I was like, this kid, what is he like? What the fuck with this kid? And then he was almost fired. And then, but then he kind of calmed down and he came in and he was, you could see this kid was like brilliant. And then from the play, and I was jealous. Because I'd again been doing it for a long time, and I'd done my first TV series. Like I'd done a show on Fox. It was canceled after one season, but I had had a couple cool things and obviously commercials and stuff. But David, right from the play, boom, movie career. He went into Life with Mikey. Michael Fox hired him for Life with Mikey. And then he went that into Adam's Family, which I also auditioned for. And and I was like, fuck this kid.
We've all got one of those. Yes.
I was about to be fucking fired. He was such a little prick. And now he's like doing all these movies.
He's taking roles from me. He's taking jobs.
Yep, totally. But we reconnected years later, and I adore him.
He's
the best. He's also diehard Knicks fan. Crazy Knicks fan too. So
Knicks and Wu-Tang.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he's an incredible singer and bongo player. He plays
in a Grateful Dead cover band.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, this is a David Crumholtz
We should get
podcast.
him on.
We are going to get him on. Thank you for this is a good guest.
He's on the Seth Rogen series, The Studio.
Yes,
right?
He and Seth became friends, and I'm forgetting what they did together, but he's been in that group for a while too, and pops up all the time. Yeah, he's so right for that.
Oh, that
group.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to take a very quick break, and then we're going to come right back and hear more.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jenny, where were you at this time?
Where was
you were
I?
At UCLA
in the 90s? Well, so I was living in Arizona.
That's what I was going to say. You're in Arizona.
I started in Arizona. I went to high school there. I was living with my dad. My first job was these trade shows, these Mattel trade shows.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I I played ice skating Barbie.
Like at an expo, like
at
an
audition.
convention center.
But it was like my first, like, the agent sent me out and I had to like lie that I didn't have to lie, but I did, that I knew how to ice skate. And then that became like a whole thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry, I know this is your podcast, but I've never asked this question. What was your agent in Phoenix, Arizona like?
He was major, Jason.
What is an agent in Phoenix like? Right?
Well, like Broadway Danny Rose.
It was, Lee Clayton.
Lee Clayton.
And then there was like Ford. There was like Ford, there was like the model agency.
Oh.
But no, I mean, see, even you just acted impressed.
Yeah. No, but Ford is a name. Ford was obviously across the country.
Ford is Ford.
That shit out.
Sure.
It was like John Casablanca, I'm sure. So anyway, they sent us out on like these, commercials, what have you.
And sometimes look-sees. Remember? Like the look-sees?
The look-sees, yeah. And the big job to get was like to get a job at the Mattel show.
Yeah.
And so
it was every year it came.
It was every year. And so I was ice skating Barbie, and Busy Phillips, who was what, I went to high school with. We were like, high school rivals / like frenemies. But, we have a good relationship now.
Right.
It's like the best love story. But she played Skipper, some sort of Skipper. So we were there together, and we'd check in every day and then do this spiel for all of these different buyers who would come in from like Japan or, wherever to like buy the doll.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, first of all, I'm so clumsy. Second of all, like me trying to work any sort of device is a fucking joke. So like I had to like twist the Barbie, spin it. It would fly across the room. So yeah, let's just say I almost David Krumholtz myself out of that gig. Then I went to UCLA as a theater major, and I started auditioning when I was in college and started working in TV from there. Then I got out of school early and just continued on that trajectory. Actually, I never told you this. There's a guy that I auditioned for in Backstage West, Todd something. And he always used to say to me, he's like, you remind me of this girl, Christine, that I worked with. Todd, I'm going to look him up.
No.
Yeah.
He's
on my IMDb, because if I go back far enough, it's like one of these first, like, Backstage West ads I answered, and
wow.
I'll find his name for you.
Wow.
You could play sisters for sure.
Well, it's so funny because when we met on the movie, which was the first time, but when I came up to you, I was like, I've been hearing that I should know you for the longest time. People that we have in common, like the makeup artist, Monica, Prince Monica,
yeah.
I remember the day when Monica was like, you would love Jenny Mollen. You two are so similar.
Well,
like you
so
you
funny.
need to meet Jenny, it happened, but it happened like 3 years after she told me that. But
that is so
I
funny.
can't believe our paths hadn't crossed before then.
It was faded.
It was faded.
Yeah.
I love that.
So when you started auditioning, when you got out of school, did you stay and live in LA for a while, or did you come?
Yeah, so I stayed and lived in LA, and I was doing the all the weird procedurals, all the shows that I feel like we all did back then. And then I met Jason when we did My Best Friend's Girl. That was when I was like 20. I don't know. How old were we when we met? We were like 27 or something. And thank you. And then I was married to somebody famous and hated life. I was like, this sucks. Like I went from feeling totally like I was killing it. I felt like hot. I felt like I walk in a room and like, at 26 years old, 27 years old, you feel like people like see you.
Yeah.
Not anymore now that I'm a mother. I feel like I'm like, back then you're like, I'm killing it. And then all of a sudden you're dating somebody who so eclipses you professionally, and people are like, can you hold my baby while I take a picture with Jason Biggs? And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It was like such a mind fuck. I hated it so much. I couldn't handle it. And Jason's always like, what did I ever do to you? Besides like,
I know.
Everything you want. Like, what did I do?
Yeah, because she's resentful. She would like be pissed at me.
You're a team though, right? When one's winning, you're both winning. And it goes back and forth.
It just felt like he was winning a little more than I was, and it drove me insane. But it actually, like, I think that galvanized me. I started tweeting and I started writing, and I was like writing all of my feelings.
Yeah.
And that sort of started my comedy career, because I think that Twitter at that moment in time was a moment where like, it didn't matter who you were. Like if you were funny, you could like rise to the top. So it like democratized comedy for all of us. And off of Twitter was how I got my first book deal. And then everything changed. So it was a wild time.
Wow. Yeah. I can relate so much, because it's, you fall in love with who you fall in love with. And you start to, when you first date, you know that, like with Ben, it's like, I didn't want any of my friends to know. I've talked about this before. We both talk about this. I was like, I want to just like quietly date this person to see, because I don't want it to become a thing. I don't want it to be anything that it's not going to be. And then you fall in love and got married. And I had a legitimate career before I met Ben. I had starred in movies. I was in comedies, big comedies before I met Ben. But then we met and worked. He cast me in Zoolander after, by the way, and I've said this before too, I was like the fourth choice and cheap. Like he had offered that role in Zoolander to Sarah Jessica Parker, to Kate Hudson, to everybody turned it down. And then finally they were like, Scott Rudin was like, what about Christine? Would she do it? I was like, I'd do it. I'm not auditioning for it, but I will do it, because I had auditioned.
That's amazing.
And they paid me nothing. But after working with him, it was like and it was my mistake too, for reading comments, for listening to comments, for going there, for taking that deep dive. Because every comment was, well, she wouldn't be in that movie if it wasn't her husband. What about her? What about her? And I was sort of had such a bone to pick, because I was like, wait a second. I had already done the Brady Bunch movie. I'd already done some things.
Totally.
And you crushed it in Zoolander too. I mean, you're hilarious.
Thank you, David.
Exactly.
Yep.
Crushed it is not so quite the word, but it was very frustrating, but it took time. I mean, I didn't have Twitter or use writing as an outlet, but it did take me time to sort of recognize I didn't have anything to prove, because I did at first. I was like, I'm going to do lots of jobs that Ben's not connected to, and to prove to everybody. Yes. And they were not great jobs either. They were like pilots that didn't go. They were like low budget movies that never saw the light of day. And I was also our kids were really little. So I was like, what am I doing? Like, I want to be a mom. I want to focus on this. And like, and that really shifted everything for me too. When I put the energy elsewhere and stopped caring about the haters. I think that's the lesson for all of us too, is like, you can't read comments. Don't read comments.
You can't, because you'll make yourself insane. It's so true. Yeah, that's so true.
And you know what? Someone told me the other day, the best piece of advice they ever received was that no one's really thinking about you. You know, like you think the whole world is watching and like, Christine's only working with her husband. But you know what? Like everyone's so knee deep in their own stuff. It's like, just forget. Yeah, no one's really thinking about it, and go take chances, go fail, go change it up, and do what you want to do, you know?
Yes, exactly. They think people are judging them for working with their husband. Like, no one's actually on you.
I know.
Right, and Jenny, you say that. Can I just, I don't want to brag about the extensive research I did for this interview, because this is from the introduction.
Please do brag, David. This is good. This is impressive.
We're impressed.
I'm impressed.
Well, we just figured out that you were coming on a couple days ago, but I just wanted to see like your writing style, because I know you're a New York Times bestselling author. So, but then when I watched your social media and you're talking about how Twitter and comedy was how you got into this, I totally get it, because you're so authentic and so. But talking about being judged and stuff, you say our generation is fighting for honesty. We don't need to be perfect. We need to be real. Indulge your inner sociopath. People are judging you anyway. There's zero reason to be ashamed of announcing and acting upon your real feelings. Life is too short for bullshit. This book is utterly who I am when I'm not trying to impress or protect someone's feelings. It is my hope that you read it and become better acquainted with who you really are and what you really want. And I was just like blown away by that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's great, baby.
It's really good. I haven't
read that in a while. That's so good.
And that's why people resonate with you, your book, your social media, you know, and people are shying away from traditional TV and movies because the user generated stuff is so authentic. And I think that people want truth.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think people just like want to feel seen. And I think that when you're talking to them like a real person, they actually feel like there's a connection. And I don't know, that makes kind of all the difference.
Yeah.
Yes. Show the mess. Yes.
Yeah. That's why, there's YouTube and TikTok channels that get 10 times more ratings than a show that they produced for $5 million an episode.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's so true. Crazy. It's so true. But in it still requires, a voice, right? Like a point of view, I think that because there is now we're so saturated with user generated content that how do you sort of filter? And it's people like Jenny who, stand out because not just because they're relatable and whatever, but they have a very specific voice. That's what I've always loved about Jenny too. Like once she started to write and because I had seen it from our first date, she's incredibly funny and has a voice, like a specific comedic voice. But at the time she was, working as an actress, took herself very seriously, UCLA theater school.
I can't even picture that version of you.
Right? No, it's crazy. But this was what she was doing. She was doing guest stars on, whatever show where she played a rape victim, and it was moving.
Rape victim. I was a dead body. I was like a cop's girlfriend. Yeah, I was
forensic,
a ballistic missiles.
Oh my God!
Yeah, but all the things that were like dramatic and wordy and whatever,
and boring, so boring.
But then she'd come home and she'd tell the story of being on set playing this role, but it would be in this brilliant voice of hers and a point of view and hilarious. And then so I always obviously saw it. Anyone that knew you saw it, but like for once the social media started to happen, she was able to exploit it and sort of really get her voice out there. Then you start to see the other people kind of
but thank God I was with somebody who didn't like care that I was writing about
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to ask where you fall, Jason, in like, or Jenny, just in when you're writing, are you consulting with Jason, or are you writing and then you're showing it to him before, or he just doesn't get any say whatsoever? You're just, that's the agreement.
Well, no, now I write and then I show it to him.
Right.
Now.
That was not always.
Well, no. Tiernan, like a lot of people saw that first story before. It was like, I didn't put that out without asking. But I would tweet without asking Jason. Yeah. Because that was just I'm at the grocery store. You know what I mean? It was so like just letting those things fly. But I think back, it's just like, had I not been with Jason and had I been with like anybody else I dated prior to Jason, I probably wouldn't have the career that I have, because I don't think that I would have been allowed to share so much. I was just so lucky and fortunate to be with somebody who was like, no, fucking, it's funny. I don't care.
This is authentically you. This is authentic. I want you to be who you are. And whether that's, messy or silly or oversharing but full transparency. I mean, that's brave. And that's
only before kids.
I love it.
Yes.
There are definitely like bumpers on the on the bowling alley lane.
You know what else? You know what else I'll say though, as well, just thinking about why you stand out too, when there's so much, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. It's not just because of your point of view and your voice, but because what made me think of this is because you're saying it's reality, and it is. But Jenny's a storyteller, and she knows how to take what is our reality and actually sort of mold it into a structure.
Right.
So while it is real, there are elements of control and manipulation, for lack of a better word, that she knows how to do. So it's like, it's not just the people who have a voice and are funny, but people who are storytellers who are able to sort of make the jump out of just a sort of, social media anonymity,
Yes.
Well, we had like a really good actor at home, and I'm like, I have to take advantage of this. Like, I got to fucking document.
You guys, these interviews go so fast, and I know. I was listening to Smartless, and Mike DeLuca was on, and they were talking about the state of the entertainment business and how movies are dead and this and that. And he was saying they've always said these things. And in 1999, they said the R-rated comedy was dead, and then American Pie came out.
Were they talking about that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mike DeLuca just said that on Smartless, and I was like, oh, well, we got to talk to Jason about American Pie and what that was like. But yeah, at that time, it was like it started a whole trend of these vulgar R-rated comedies that everyone was talking about. But what was it like getting that job, and then the after effects of how huge it was?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's where to begin? I mean,
were you guys in LA at the time, or were you?
Yeah. So interestingly, Jenny and I both went to LA from our respective places of growing up at the same year. She went out in 97 for college. And that was the same year I had auditioned for and booked a TV series out of New York that filmed in LA. So I went out to LA to do this series. It was canceled after a season. You notice a pattern with my TV series, and the ones that I've actually gone to air, to air.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay out here and test the waters and do pilot season and the whole thing. And so a few months after that, I booked American Pie. But at that point, like once I decided to stay out there, like the show was canceled in December. I did pilot season, booked a pilot. But then that whole spring, I was auditioning for everything. And it was a great time to be 19 years old in LA, but looked younger. So there were all these high school parts, movies and stuff. And actually, like, yes, the R-rated vulgar comedy, American Pie kind of did it. But I would argue that Scream before it had kind of brought back, again, different genre, but there was something about the sort of high school.
Yes. Because I was going to say, I think there's something about Mary came out, but that was not teen. Like bringing back the teen comedy, which was so big in the 80s.
What about the other ones? There were so many, right?
But that was exactly. Yes. Can't hardly wait.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. The teen comedy became
Exactly. And we just pushed it even further than any of the other, because most of them were PG-13. Understandably, teens. Let's do it. But American Pie. So anyway, so I was out there and I was auditioning for all of these and would have been psyched to get a call back for any of them, right? And I was coming close on some, and I would have been thrilled with any offer, of course. And I remember getting the script for American Pie. It was not called American Pie at the time. It was called Untitled Teenage Sex Comedy that studios will probably hate, but we think you will love, that can be made for under $10 million. Copyright WGA West. That was the title.
No, that was the working title of the.
Yep. True story. So
that's hilarious.
That's
right away from the title page, you go, okay, this is cool. What is happening here? And I remember reading the script on my shitty futon in my shitty West LA apartment, cracking up out loud, thinking, oh my God, this is different. Like, this is not like the other things and that I've been reading and auditioning for. So anyway, so I auditioned, just casting initially, then came back, read for the directors, and was the director's choice right away. But it was a studio film, albeit lower budget and with less sort of oversight. But still, there was studio, and they wanted a name initially. And the name that apparently was being tossed about was Jonathan Taylor Thomas from Home Improvement.
Oh, yeah.
Which can't imagine what that movie would have looked like or been. And he apparently couldn't either, because he backed away from it. And anyway, it was kind of a grueling couple of months, knowing that from the time that I had read for the directors who wanted me to the time I actually got the offer, it was like 2 months or something. And just like hearing all these things. Yeah. And
brutal.
I had heard, and I had booked a pilot in that time as well, which was, we were waiting to hear if it was going to get picked up. And then I went from hoping I have this new pilot, I'm hoping it gets picked up, to, oh wait, I hope it doesn't get picked up, which is a crazy, never wished for a job to not happen before. Right. Because maybe this movie is going to happen. Anyway, long story short, I remember getting the call that I had gotten it, and it was like best thing ever. Interesting Smartless connection real quick. And actually, I feel like he'd be okay with me telling this. I feel like you would be.
Yes.
Bateman?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so I smoked a lot of fucking weed back then. And
so did I.
And yeah, a lot. And I had never done a movie before where you need to do a cast physical, or at least I don't recall it. I'd done some indies, but I don't know. And I remember I was in New Jersey at the time with my high school friends. Like I had finally gotten the offer, and it was like a period. There was like a couple weeks or a month between the offer and when we were going to go back, when we were going to shoot. So I went home to Jersey, hang out with my high school friends. Was telling them all that I had gotten this movie, and they were like, yeah, okay, Biggs, sure. Because I had gotten things before, and it ended up being, they were like, Biggs, where's that movie you that summer? And I was like, well, it's nothing. So they just thought this was whatever as well. Anyway, I digress. I was smoking a lot of weed. My manager calls me about the manager's assistant at the time calls me and says, oh, you got your cast physical. And I was like, wait, what? Do they do a drug? Is there drug? Can you imagine? There'd be no movies made. There'd be castless movies. Everything would be animated. Everything would be animated. So
you can't test actors for drugs.
Yeah.
Oh God!
I was so paranoid, obviously, because I was high as fuck. But I was so scared of losing my first big job, And so I called my manager's assistant. And I was like, dude, you have to tell me, do they do a drug test? I'm freaked out. What's going to happen? And even if I wasn't going to get fired, I was afraid of becoming known as that guy, or maybe to have to pay more insurance, whatever it was, was. And and my manager's assistant said, I'm going to call somebody. I feel like I can get the answer for you. And he was repped at the same management company at the time. He called Jason Bateman and asked Bateman what the story was. And my manager's assistant calls me back and says, I spoke with Jason Bateman. And he says, you're totally fine. Get over it. Chill out. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's going to be fine. And I hung up the phone with my manager's assistant and I was like, thank you, Jason Bateman, and lit up a huge fucking blunt and got super high in his honor.
It was the best phone call you ever got.
Yeah, best phone call. Anyway, the movie, the whole process was crazy. We shot it, from the first table read, we're like, oh, from the script, I was like, this is special. Table read, you see the cast, you go, oh, this is special. Me and Eugene doing our scenes, we're doing a rehearsal, we're improvising, we're like, oh, this is special. Everything, from every step of the way, you're going, oh, this is actually really, the pie scene I was so nervous about the day of filming it. I was like, am I really going to do this? I shot it. God. After the first take, there was a pause, and then all of a sudden the entire crew just bursts out laughing. And I go,
oh, that's it. That's how you know.
Yeah. Oh my God. To
breathe.
Yes. That Christmas, I took a VHS copy, an early copy of the movie home back to my high school friends and showed it to a whole group of them in my friends Eric Summerbakin's basement over Christmas. We popped it in, and again, nervous what they're going to say. Loved it. I mean, they were in college now, so it was every step of the way. They released a Red Band trailer in the movie theaters that people started talking about. It went viral. I mean, it was viral at the time, was little AOL chat rooms and stuff, but I started to get recognized from the trailer, and you go, oh God, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of went from there. So was I surprised? Yeah. It exceeded all expectations, but we also had a sense that this stood out and was very special. So what happened after that was just sort of insanity for me. I mean, I'd been doing it for so long and seen the ups and downs, so I was probably better prepared than most people in the cast. But still, you can't. I mean, it was just a complete loss of anonymity, and it's all that stuff, and you have
the
money
quote overnight success, the quote that you had been doing for
exactly
15 years, right?
Totally. But the thing I've always said about fame, and I'm you guys everyone's got a different level, and obviously Ben and you guys have a thing, and I'm sort of in a what I consider a sort of nice, safe place. But the most fascinating thing for me is that people don't want to say no. That's sort of the biggest. And when you're 19 years old and you have a little bit of money and you have this fame and you have people that are not really saying or don't want to say no to you, for the most part, that can be very dangerous. And I found that to be the case, because that quickly becomes something that you sort of get used to. And it was that was difficult, but otherwise it's been the biggest blessing in my life. And right.
And then your dog said no to you.
And then my dog was like, fuck off.
She's
I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. Yeah.
And you married a strong woman who I'm sure, doesn't yes you to death.
The thing that I liked least about him.
Literally the thing. She didn't even she hadn't seen the movie.
Come on. You haven't seen the movie when you met Jason?
No.
And
you know what what part of her, what she said? She's like, no, why would I see that? Like, no, it's a bunch of no, and fuck those guys for this ass. And it's a shitty movie. I'm about it.
No. What happened was when I was auditioning, it was a movie that I was in with Jason. There was a guy on the movie who now happens to be one of my agents. But at the time he was a manager and he repped the writer of the movie. He was trying to date my sister. So he calls my sister and he's like, do you want, I know your sister's up for the movie. She's going back to the director. Thanks for making me look good, whatever. Would she want to see the tapes of the other girl she's auditioning against? Christine, come on. Is that all I've ever wanted? What do you mean?
So all you want?
How do you fucking tapes? So I'm just sitting in my house, loving my life, feeling I'm oh, you're fine. You're mid, whatever, going through everyone, because it's the same cluster of you. When you're at that level, it's the same girls. So it was amazing to finally get to see what goes on in that room. Are they that much better? What's happening? And so he goes, while you're at it, there's two actors we're choosing between. I just if you have time, one's Jason Biggs and one's this other guy. And I was like, Jason Biggs, fuck that guy. He's already, he's had enough. Give it to the underdog, totally projecting. But then I watched the tapes and you guys, it was I think it was the audition of Jason's lifetime. Honestly, I tell him it was the best read I'd ever seen. And so I had to call Doug back and I was like, Doug,
names.
Doug is fine.
Okay.
I called Doug back and I was like, Doug, he's amazing. He's so talented. I had no idea. And so that was how it all.
And you said what else?
And I think I might be in love with him. But
no, you fell in love with Jason on an audition tape.
And it's audition tape.
Phenomenal. She was exaggerating. She can't even give it to me. She's like, I was kidding. I was I was exaggerating. Whatever you say.
I ended up being in love with you, but I'm just saying, I was very impressed by you.
But then we get together and she feigned none of that. She couldn't. No, I'm not impressed at all.
Yeah.
No, of course. No, you have to play it cool. You have to play it cool.
And of course, because again, when you're dating somebody who is known, that every other girl is I'm so happy to be here. And I was just you're psyched.
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
You're the one that's happy to be here.
This means nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
American who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the bomb of all no, I haven't even seen the movie. So what? Oh my god,
it's not my thing.
Don't you understand? No one says no to me now. Why? What is happening here?
And that's when you fell in love.
Right.
Yes,
and that's when I fell in love. That's exactly that, David.
There's something there.
You guys, we've gone over an hour.
I know. We've taken up way too much of your time. There's something so special about that decade. There is just something, like you said, it was pre-cell phones and just and Jason, for you, what you said, being 19 at that age and being young and in the scene, and there really were just, and Jenny, you said it too, all the same people you'd see at the auditions, and see, it was just this sort of world that I wonder. You said you had auditioned for the Brady Bunch movie, right? You said
I did. Actually, I remember where I auditioned for that movie in New York. Wait, were you in New York at the time too?
No, I was in LA.
No, you were out in
LA. I was in
already.
LA. Yeah.
Yeah, I auditioned at the Gulf and Western, because remember Paramount was owned by Gulf and Western.
Yep.
At the time, it was the Gulf and Western building in Columbus Circle in New York, and I remember auditioning there for the Brady Bunch movie. Yep. And who would I have auditioned? This was in 97?
It was probably 95.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe for the auditions. I think when we talked about this last time, I think it was, you probably would have auditioned for Peter, is my guess.
I think
middle.
Yeah, that's right.
The
That's
middle
right.
brother.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 95.
And I could see that.
Yeah, I think I was a junior in high school. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably would have made sense.
Yeah. No, but so I remember that was my introduction to you because, of course, I saw the movie and was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hated whoever got Peter, but I loved you.
Well, all the guests that we have on, and we, I will always tell whoever it is that I auditioned for that part. I didn't get that part. I hate that movie. I never saw it. Screw you all. Exactly what. So I totally get it. But yeah, you guys, for the last thing before we go is just like you talked about a little bit just with having your boys and the filter being a little bit different, like the lanes.
Yes.
And how have they seen stuff? Have they found stuff? Do they have access to iPads where they go online? And because I remember the moment with our son when he started tapping in. I mean, he's now almost 20, but I remember when he started tapping into Ben's, other than the kids' movies Ben did, but to other movies he did. And also where he would start to see, he's like, oh no, I saw that thing Dad did on Conan or whatever. Cause he found it on YouTube or, have you guys delved into that, or do you try to keep it pretty high and tight with?
Like a little bit.
Cause they're younger. I know they're much,
Yeah, 11 and 7.
Yeah, they're still littles.
I think so.
So Sid was like, we were.
If you don't want us to do this, we can cut that. Yeah.
No, we were at lunch the other day, and Sid was like, people say that my dad's famous, like telling us this. People say that my dad's famous, and there was this kid that was talking to me, and they talked about, he said something about his dad, and he's like, well, his dad, the other kid said about Sid, well, his dad's more famous than your dad, and they're kind of like fighting, and Sid's like, so my dad, like he gets, and you can tell like Sid kind of like likes this. And I was like, Sid, does anybody ever say to you, you have like such a hot mom? And he goes, no, never. I'm dead serious. I was like, this should be. None of your friends think I'm even cute, cool, nothing. No. But so he's into this idea. He's like, oh, people. Yeah.
Like the awareness when that starts to happen.
He's aware.
He doesn't know like what American Pie means.
Right.
But he knows it's coming.
Yeah. And we had a near miss recently. I think it's time we talk to him, because what's going to happen, I want to get in front of it. I think what's going to happen is another kid from an older brother or even a teacher, like his teachers who are 20 something are going to be like,
no.
And he actually kind of guessed it that one. And
they're going to say what? Your dad had sex with an apple pie in front of the world.
I think I'm just going to get a pie and demonstrate, because I don't know how else.
Well, literally, what are you going to do?
So perfect.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. We need to chat about that. But we had a near miss recently where we were walking on the street in the city, and the boys were with us, and someone walked by and said, oh my God, oh, dude, you fucked the pie. And I immediately was like, shut up. And I looked at the boys, and thank God they were like just far enough up, and they were talking to each other and whatever, and they didn't clock it. And I was like, is this how my kids find out that I fucked a pie from some rando on the street? Going,
I know.
Yeah,
so, I know.
So that's gonna happen. I have to get in front of this somehow.
Yeah.
What do you guys think he should do?
What should I do?
I mean, you guys have experience. So what do you think?
I know. I feel like I remember, because Ben had similar in Something About Mary with the after he gets ready for the date and answers the door, and that but our kids had not seen that movie at all. And Quinn would have friends who had older brothers that some of his friends had seen some of the R-rated movies already that Ben had been in, and Quinn would just lie and say he had seen it because he didn't want to seem like he wasn't cool enough or old enough to watch it. But we were also, it wasn't even like the age so much as it was like, we're not going to force our stuff on our kids.
Like, sit down and watch me.
Yes, it's hard. It's hard because they start to have access to everything very quickly.
What did they do? Like when they did know that, like were they,
did they whether they told questions?
I don't think, no, because I think Quinn was much more, Ella had no interest. She's a girl. She was too cool for it. She still hasn't seen a lot of those movies. But Quinn really, like, I think he kept a lot of it until he got older. And Ben would then say, like, yeah, one of these days you should see it. Not with me. You should watch There's Something About Mary because it's really funny, but you should. Yeah. And Quinn's like, yeah, I don't want to watch it with you because I know about that scene and I don't want to see that while I'm sitting in the same room with you. So it was like he already had gotten the information, but he was not the kid who came to us with lots of questions. I think he would wait until he processed it and was a little older and was like, oh no, I know all about that. So, but they're all different. All right, you guys, this was the best. I can't wait to have your salad, Jenny. I'd like to have it with you. Let's have it.
Okay, let's do that. For sure, let's do that.
Let's hook up and go to Bonberry and get your salad.
Yes.
Maybe with the almond feta to throw on the side.
Yeah, we'll throw some feta around too. I love it.
You guys are awesome. Delicious.
Thank you guys.
Oh my God.
You guys are awesome.
So much fun.
I love talking to you.
Thank
you so much.
Yeah.
Great to finally meet you, David. Nice to see you, Christine.
Yes. I'll see you guys soon. And go Knicks.
You too, guys.
Go Knicks.
Knicks.
Go Knicks.
Go Knicks. Okay. Aren't they so great? I feel like I knew both of them from afar. And then just over this last year, have gotten to know both of them a little bit. And they're so much fun.
Yeah, they're so like genuine and authentic. And like you could tell that they have this amazing relationship. They really like support each other, but give each other a lot of shit. Like it's so cool.
I love just him being so supportive of her and her voice and, you know, how she came to be as Jenny Mollen. And she really is like such a presence. And I just think she's so unique and fearless. Like that's what I just love is she's so fearless and she's so honest and about everything. She takes you into every doctor appointment on her Instagram. And
I know.
She's like, this is it. This is me, from the dermatologist to, to colonoscopies to all of it. And it's awesome.
I love that, like she talked about marrying an actor that was, super famous and then how she came to find her own voice and her writing and her comedy. And I don't know. I love their whole story and I love meeting them.
A great first episode back. In our new environment. Back, yes, so excited. So thanks everyone for listening and come back next week. We've got another great guest, which we're excited about. Remember to follow us at Hey Dude, the 90s Called. Watch us on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, everybody.
Yay Media Group.